Hello, my name's Otis Courtney. This is Collateral Impact. And the purpose of the show is really to share my perspective on names and people and places and things that have affected me personally. And even though the subject matter may be familiar, my experience has been unique. And that is the title of the topic I'd like to discuss today is the N Word, and I title it The N Word Personified. And the purpose of my commentary is as an 80-year-old, almost 80-year-old African American male, born and raised in America. I want to share what the N word sounds like to me when spoken by a white person. And I don't claim to know all the motives of all white people, so I won't even go into that. But there was a gentleman by the name of, I have to try to struggle with his name, is Ta-Nahisi Coates. And he gave probably the best definition that I've heard about why white people should not use the N word. And he said, for example, he said, talking about him, my wife calls me honey. And, culturally that's acceptable. Now, if I'm walking down the street with my wife and some other woman calls me honey, that's not appropriate. And provided that I survive it, that wouldn't be a good thing. He said, also, I have a friend who, he lives in upstate New York, and he likes to refer to his cabin as his white trash cabin. He said, I would never say that. I would never say that because it's culturally inappropriate. That's why, even though white people feel like they have the right to say the N word, it's just not appropriate to do it. But he said that leads to even a deeper discussion of how white people tend to think that they're entitled to say anything or do anything. And the reverse of that is black people know that there are some things that you just don't say and you don't do. Now, as best as I can describe what happens to me, when I hear the word, it's that, let me see how to describe it. It's that grr sound that is the end of that N word. It kind of grates my soul to hear that. And so I don't expect a white person to be able to identify with the feeling that I feel or what I hear, because there's no way that they could ever know what that feels like. And so when white people feel that it's an infringement on their free speech rights, they also have to accept the fact that, and to use a scriptural reference in Matthew 12:34, it says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when a white person uses that word, knowing that its roots are on racism, there's no way it could ever be acceptable. So why would you actually treat another human being disrespectfully just in order to demonstrate that you have a right to do that? And to give you even a more clear example of how it affects me personally, it causes, when I hear it, kind of a visceral response. It's like your autonomic nervous system, that creates your heartbeat and your breathing and all that kind of stuff. I can't control that, but it actually happens. So those are the things that happen. And I say, well, I'm my own authority on that. I know what happens when it happens. So, I'd be remiss if I didn't indicate that there are African Americans who use that word. And I would never try to suggest to them that they can't use it. That's up to them, because I used to feel that way as well. And so I can only speak for myself. And just in closing, my comments are not meant for people who could care less about this subject, but it is an opening to a more civil discussion about it.